Knowles on the News. Susan Knowles.
So welcome to the program, everyone. I'm so glad that you could join me today. If you joined in today and you wanted a rant-free zone, this isn't the place to be. If you needed a safe space, one where that you could destroy, this isn't the place. This is going to be a rant-filled radio program today, I'm afraid, because I've just about had it, and I'm sure that you have too. I can't believe that we're still on the subject of what Donald Trump did on a bus in a conversation privately 11 years ago, okay? I really can't. I know I've heard all of the arguments. Oh my gosh, well, Susan, you must know a lot of perverted people and you're okay with that kind of talk. And my gosh, it amounts to sexual assault. Why can't you see that? Well, okay, let's kind of, first let's take a deep breath in and out and get very peaceful. Take all the emotion out of this election, and let's talk with some common sense here. Okay, let's start there and see if we can make any sense of all of this. Okay, first of all, as I've said before, I don't condone or like such language. I think it is disrespectful. I think that it is somebody with an ego who's trying to make himself look like a bigger man than he really is in front of the other boys. Okay, I get all that. I mean, it does happen. Other men have done that kind of talk, maybe not exactly the same. And I don't like what he said. I think it's rude, disrespectful, juvenile, and ridiculous. Okay, so let's just get that straight. But here's the thing. He said it 11 years ago in a private conversation. Now, does that mean he should or shouldn't be president? That's up to you to decide that question. But what you should know is that there are other people who feel that it was just talk. And I look at it that way. It is just talk. And bear with me a minute for those of you who are yelling in at the radio. Those people who are saying it's just sexual assault. Where did you get that? Since when is saying something equivalent to proving that someone committed a sexual assault? I think we have to be careful in this country because we're blurring lines when it comes to the law. Even if you accuse someone of sexual assault, if you're the victim, you have to prove that a sexual assault was committed. Now, if somebody goes to a woman and says, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, never lays a hand on her, then you can question, depending upon, I guess, the state that you're in, whether or not that's an assault. It's not a battery because you didn't touch the person, but it could be a verbal assault. Let's carry it that far, okay? But Donald Trump wasn't around any woman on the bus that I know of when he made those comments. Again, while rude, he didn't say them to a potential victim. He said them with a bunch of other guys who now, by the way, Billy Bush is going to be fired by NBC. NBC had this information, carried it around, and Billy Bush is the sacrificial lamb, because Billy Bush isn't important. What's important to them is getting Hillary elected. So they got rid of Billy Bush. Big deal. Billy's going to have to go out and find another job or not, and they don't really care because they got what they wanted. They got you and me talking about this ad nauseum, and making up things that are not in fact here. There's no facts here that show that he committed a sexual assault. Now, even again, if you say, well, other people are coming forward and they're saying he did this and he did that on The Apprentice and we've gone to Gloria Allred and we're going to tell her, okay. If and when they come out and say, this is what he did, he committed a battery upon me and a sexual assault, then we got a different story. But even at that point, You have to prove the allegations. You can't just make allegations against someone without evidence and proof to back it up. And if it turns out that what they're saying was not true, there could be a slander suit, defamation suit that he has against them for making things up. But just going back to the bus talk, there's nothing there other than the fact that he disrespected people, women in this case, by what he said. It's just disrespectful conversation. And, he's admitted to that. He said he apologized to his family. Okay, well, if they're okay with it and you're not, that's okay. You can be upset by what he said. I think it does go towards character of somebody who would talk like that. I know if my husband talked like that, I would wonder what in the world happened to him. Did he lose his mind? Okay, but my husband didn't come from an egotistical, narcissistic type family situation, and I'm sorry. A lot of people who are raised the way that Donald was raised come out like that. Athletes are like that sometimes. Not everybody, but sometimes that's what happens. So do we discount the athletes? Are we sitting there going, oh, well, you can't be an athlete because you have a narcissistic type ego? Yeah, most of them kind of do. Ask Colin Kaepernick. People like that. Yes, they do. And I can hear people now saying, yeah, but, we're not asking Donald Trump to be an athlete. We're asking him to be president of the United States. And my answer to you is this. While there are other people that you can vote for, and you have the right to vote for those other people, whether I or anybody else agrees or disagrees, whether I or anybody else makes up the argument of, well, if you don't vote for Trump, it's a vote for Hillary. No. As an American citizen, you have a right to vote for whoever you want. You have a right to make a mistake or not by voting a certain way, whatever the case may be. I am not going to judge you on that. I know a lot of people do, but I am not going to judge you on that. But for the most part, the Americans in the United States have put these two people in a position, and this is who the two main candidates are. The third parties may get some votes, but it's not going to be that much unless everybody in America just says, I've had it and I'm just going to vote third party. And they're not going to do that, okay? All indications are right now they're not going to do that, okay? This is not the time for a third party. Maybe somewhere in the future, I don't know. But right now, dealing with reality, this is who we have. And I guess then you have to decide who it is that you're going to vote for. Is what Donald Trump said so much that you're just like, okay, I'm walking away? But I would ask you at that point, again, not to believe the falsehoods right now that language was a sexual assault. It was not a sexual assault. I'm sorry. It was not. Go into any courtroom, with any judge, and ask a judge, was that sexual assault? And they're going to laugh you right out of there. There was no victim, nobody on the bus that could have been a victim. No female that he was talking about was present on the bus, on and on and on. And I'm tired, too, of people who say, well, Donald Trump this and Donald Trump that and Donald, and it's all about Donald Trump. I understand that you don't like Donald Trump. I get it. And I don't like Hillary just that much, okay? The same. But what I do is I'm kind of neutral here because I talk about both of them. If Hillary comes out and she lies, I'm going to tell you Hillary lies. If Donald Trump comes out and I believe he lies, I'm going to tell you Donald Trump lies. I'm going to do that because what I'm interested in as a human being, as an American citizen, and as a Christian, I'm interested in the truth. The name of the show is Stand for Truth. Now, is everybody an angel and nobody's ever made a mistake and nobody's ever lied? Let me meet that person if you find them. And I'm not talking about little lies or whatever. Those are wrong too. Yes, okay, I got it. But I'm talking about lies that are done, for example, to get Hillary elected. I don't know about you. I don't want Hillary in the White House. I really don't. And in case you're wondering, for me, it matters not who I vote for in California. I could vote for Trump all day long and on Sunday, and it won't matter. I can vote for a third party all day long and on Sunday, and it still won't matter, because this is a blue state, and it will go to Hillary. And especially since Jerry Brown made sure that everybody in California, including illegals, are now registered to vote. So unless they go, oh, wait, I can't vote because I'm here illegally, then you're going to have people who are not valid citizens and can't vote going in to vote, and they're going to vote for Hillary. Why? Because you have a Democratic president who has put them in a position to have a driver's license, to be able to vote, to have all kinds of money, to be taken care of under Obamacare. I mean, come on. You get more benefits in general than some of these than American citizens. If you're an illegal immigrant here, you get more benefits a lot of the times than do Americans who are here, were born here, and those who have become Americans by coming here legally. It's amazing. I know people who are living here from Canada who can't get a green card because they don't qualify. But they've been here only because they're married to someone, and they can validly be here in that regard. But now they're getting a divorce, and so after 30 years of being in America, they're facing having to be deported while, all the illegals are coming in and are being allowed to stay. But because some people who are here, who are not American citizens, want to abide by the law, and some don't. I don't know, the word being here illegally, to me, and I know this is a crazy thought, but that means you're here and breaking the law, in violation of the law. Okay, so we don't have to get into, whether, you just don't want a certain type of a person here, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't want people here who break the law, period. But anyway, getting back to it, you have to make that decision. Who do you want to be president? But when you're sitting there chastising Donald Trump, please answer for me how that makes any sense. And here's what I'll give you a hypothetical, and I hate hypotheticals, but in this case it works. Okay, if you have two children, and one's named, I was going to say Hillary and Donald, but let's not go there. If you have two children, a boy and a girl, and the boy is being mean to his sister and steals something from her, and the girl is being mean to her brother and steals something from him, okay, just, whatever, stick with me. Are you just going to go to the boy and say, oh my gosh, you should not have done that. You should not steal. It's wrong to steal. It's wrong to be mean to your sister. Now apologize. And you're going to turn to the girl and say, oh, sweetheart, it's okay. Or you just totally ignore what she's done altogether, and you don't say anything about it. You just let her go on as if nothing ever happened. Come on. And the same is true in this election. If you're going to sit there and talk about one candidate, whoever it is, you're going to have to talk about the other candidate. Donald Trump, to me, never has appeared to be a saint, and Hillary Clinton has never appeared to me to be a saint. I know more about the things that she's being accused of, and again, while I can't sit here and say that she's guilty of it because there hasn't been a trial, and most likely there won't ever be a trial on anything that she's ever done, I can sit here and say there are allegations about her that make me believe that I don't want to even almost have this woman in the White House. And again, if that comes out with Donald Trump, if there are victims who come forward and say, I've been sexually assaulted by him, then at that point you're going to have to make that decision of whether or not you can vote for Donald Trump, or again, vote for somebody else if you want to. I am not one of those people who says you must do this or you must do that. I look at it as it's still America. I'm holding on, by my fingertips in America sometimes, just like you are. but it's still a free country. We can still do whatever we want. But what I'm sick and tired of are the lies. I'm really sick and tired of the lies that are connected to this election. And I'm wondering, why people feel the need to lie. If you're not worried about the election or you want to help your country, how is lying going to help your country? Perfect example, okay? And I know you're going to say, okay, whatever, I don't like Glenn Beck. But this is going to, for a few minutes, this is going to be about Glenn Beck and Breitbart. Now, we all know, and I've said this all along, Breitbart is all in for Donald Trump. Great. Do whatever you want to do. It's your website, your organization. You can be for or against anybody that you want to be. For some reason, Breitbart wasn't okay with that for Glenn Beck when Glenn Beck was for Ted Cruz and against Donald Trump. Now I get it. You want Trump to win and not Hillary. I get that, but we can't lie in order to get what we want, because if we do that, then we have become the same people that we are accusing of lying and cheating and stealing and all that. We're no better. But maybe in this election that doesn't matter. But anyway, let me go forward. So Breitbart comes out because they hate Glenn Beck. And they say, well, Glenn Beck said he was going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, they know darn well that Glenn Beck never said that. I've heard what Glenn Beck said. He has never once said he was going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, whether you like him or not, whether you care about him or not, that's not the point. The point is telling the truth. And it concerns me about Breitbart that they would do something like that. It's so low to do something like that. And if Glenn Beck is not a threat to you, then why do you keep bringing him up? Why? Is it because you're mad at Dana Lash for having left Breitbart in the first place? Do you want her back and you think this is the way to get her back? I mean, come on, you're wasting everybody's time. And let me just remind you, Breitbart, what if Hillary gets elected and not Donald Trump? What's going to happen to you when Hillary tries to shut you down because you're not with the mainstream media, because you've always been against her and pro-Trump? Now, unless you switch gears and become pro-Hillary, it's not going to bode well for you. Now, and if you if you come crying to the public and, oh my gosh, Hillary's trying to shut us down because we were pro-Trump, don't come looking this way. You're not going to get any sympathy from me. If you're going to continue to lie about things, then you're going to get what you deserve. And I won't have any sympathy. I may stand up against Hillary for what she's doing if that's the case, but it won't be because of you. It won't be because I'm trying to save your butt. It'll be because I'm trying to save the First Amendment of the Constitution. It has nothing to do with you. But I'm so tired of everybody all this arguing all the time. Again, I know people are very emotional about this and they want their candidate to win. I get it. But as I've said before, and as I think that whoever wins on that next day, we're all in this together whether we like it or not. Whether we like the candidate, whether we don't like the candidate, we're all in this together. But the thing of it is, we won't be together because we have just, attacked each other verbally so much. There's just not going to be anybody left. I mean, it's so hard to even post anything on social media without being a verbal punching bag for somebody else. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be sitting and arguing on Facebook or Twitter about these candidates. I'm not going to be doing it. What is going to happen is going to happen. People who are going to vote for Trump are going to vote for Trump. People who are going to vote for Hillary are going to vote for Hillary. And people who are going to vote for somebody else, that's what they're going to do. And you know what? There's not anything I can do about it other than to get the truth out there and allow you to make your own decision. You're still an adult, and you have the right to make your own decision whether I or somebody else agrees with it or not. That's just the way I feel. I'm tired of the discussion of having that of you have to do one way or the other or somehow you're un-American. This is the language and the way people are when they drag people out in the street and beat them up. I'm sorry, but that's what it's going to come to if people just don't stop and grow up and knock it off. It's okay to state your point of view. That's perfectly fine. I love that. I love hearing what people have to say. But what isn't okay is when I don't have maybe the same opinion, getting cussed at or shamed or ridiculed or whatever because I just happen not to agree with you. I mean, whew. Deep breath, deep breath. We've got to stop doing this behavior. It is something that we wouldn't allow children to do to other children. And if you're the one who's sitting on social media just berating other people, and then you turn the next minute to your child and say, stop doing that, stop talking to your brother, stop talking to your sister that way, stop being a bully, shame on you. Shame on you if you're doing the same thing. Don't be a hypocrite and turn to your children and tell them not to do the same behavior that you're doing. That's ridiculous. It's just, come on. We have more important things to think about in this country. And let me give you an example of the more important things that are more serious than we know, because our mainstream media, our president, is not talking about it at all. Because they want you so focused on the election that you don't know anything about what's going on behind the scenes. What's going on over in Syria should concern you immensely. And I think we've talked about this before, but in case we haven't, Russia is in Syria, is going to protect Syria, has an agreement with Syria to do so, has entered into a gas agreement with them, and just about probably any other agreement that you could think of. Okay, so we have that going on, and we have Iran over there, and we have Russia, who basically is saying Assad is going to stay in power in Syria. Like it or not, United States, this is what's happening. And oh, by the way, did I mention that I've just brought in a lot of nuclear missiles, and they're aimed at you there in the West? And I don't know, maybe nobody's thought about this, but I can just aim them at Israel too, because they're right next door to Syria. No big deal, though. You just keep on worrying about that election right there in the United States. How many of you heard this information? Seriously. It's not being talked about. And did you hear this? Putin has come out and said, okay, we're going to have drills. Everybody, we're going to take, the whole country is going to have drills on how to get into the quote unquote, bomb shelters that we have, because we're preparing you for a nuclear conflict or something similar in those words. Again, did anybody sound the alarm over here? Like that was an important thing maybe for us to know that could possibly be happening? No. And what else just happened? Well, according to what I've heard today, Russia is telling all of their people to leave the United States immediately. If you're in school, don't finish out the semester, get on a plane, come back to Russia immediately. Wonder why they would say that. I wonder, gosh, is that something that's just so unimportant that we don't need to hear that on the news? Isn't it just more important that we focus on what happened on a bus 11 years ago? And did you know that Russia, from what I understand, is also going to be working with China? The news in the Middle East, I mean, it just gets better and better. I mean, look, we already had the what Iran did recently in Yemen with the and I'm so sure that there's just so much more going on that we don't even almost know about. Nobody is telling us anything. We're just going to sit over here, sit by idly, worry about who did what, who said what, how the, Hillary, no matter what she does, she always lands on her feet. I used to call her the Teflon Hillary. I think I'll just start calling her the untouchable. Because no matter what happens, there's always an excuse. There's always a reason that everybody believes. Recently she came out, and it's all about now how some aide talked down about the evangelicals and the Catholics, and it's like, and now they want an apology. Okay, whoa, I'm sorry. There you go. Now we can just move on, because that's all it's going to be. Trump, no, we're going to talk to him for 15 years about what he did 11 years ago on a bus. Meantime, we're sitting over there in Syria with absolutely opposing viewpoints to Russia, but somehow that's okay. We've given Iran all of this money so they can use it against us. And they will. I don't know who thought in their right minds, and maybe there's no one left in the administration in their right minds anymore, but who thought that, when we give Iran all of this money, they're not going to just turn around and give it to Russia, and they can build anything nuclear that we're not supposed to, quote unquote, we're not supposed to build under our horrible agreement with the United States. Everybody knows. Anybody, I think a third grader, if you were to have a conversation with a third grader, they'd tell you, that's stupid. But we have an administration, for some reason, who thought that was all great. Now, again, I've heard people talk about the administration, he's incompetent, he just doesn't know. If you're still on that train, please get off of it, please. He absolutely knows what he's doing. Absolutely. He and the taskmasters who are leading everything, they absolutely know exactly what they need to do. To cause unrest in the Middle East, they've done that. Check. If you still believe that we're over there fighting ISIS after all the information that's come out, then God help you. I don't know what to say. The whole thing is a farce. We could have destroyed ISIS in 24 hours maybe, if it would take that long, and yet we've been over there for over 5 years. We want Assad out. Russia wants Assad in. Russia's brought in the nuclear missiles, and we're sitting there going, Russia, do you mind if we do X, Y, and Z? Because I know that you probably don't want us to. It's pathetic. We all know it's pathetic. And yet, here we sit with our hands tied. Why? Because we have a Congress who is all progressive except for maybe one or two people. We don't have a two-party system. We really don't. We have a Congress who's absolutely sold out their souls. And one of the funniest things I think I saw today, and it's not funny in like, this is funny in light humor. It's funny in like, really, you want me to believe that? Is it John Boehner comes out and says, Donald Trump, he's not conservative. As if John Boehner were the poster boy, for what conservatism is. Oh my gosh. Here's what I think. I think most of these people in the administration and in Congress and the House of Representatives on the Republican side, I think they should all get awards for the best acting that I've ever seen. Because they, for the most part, I think a lot of them have many in America absolutely fooled. Not you who are listening, but the rest of you who aren't. Can you imagine if John Boehner said that to me, right, straight to my face? I would laugh in his face. I really would. I wouldn't be able to control myself. Here is a man who started out like a blue-collar guy, who came into some trouble, some legal troubles, at a very young age, and then went on and, became an attorney, I believe, and went to a really good school, got into politics, in the position that he's in. And I think for a while he was honestly trying to do the right thing. But then, the tobacco lobbyists, they entered the picture, and all was changed. The soul no longer mattered. And we have a guy who sold out his party to the Obama administration, and you have the audacity to sit there with a straight face and say that Donald Trump isn't a conservative, as if you knew what that looked like anymore. I mean, really. I just... sometimes it really... I just sit and think, are we just... Can we turn the channel, or can we turn something off so that like all of this will just go away, and that we won't really have been in this nightmare that we're in right now, that this will just all be a dream, a really bad one. But, somebody's going to say, ha ha, had you fooled, had you fooled for the last 8 years, didn't I? But it's not that bad. We're just joking. Everything's great. The economy's great. Hillary didn't do any of those horrible, 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 horrible things that people are accusing her of. Donald Trump, he's never been egotistical in his life. Everything's good. Wow. I never thought I would say it, but I think I've honestly come to a point where I just wish somebody would say that to me. I just say, ha, Susan, we pulled the biggest joke on you ever. I'd be like, oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me in on the joke. So now I can just go on and pretend that life is just great. Well, it's not going to be that easy. I think you know that. And I think you also know the people who are listening that are Christians, we are so far into the end times. And with the move that Russia's making, Isaiah 17, Ezekiel 38, I mean, I've never seen a time in history, and nobody else has that I know of, who has seen everything line up so perfectly well for this to occur. It is happening at lightning speed. And we have a president who's, we're not worried about it, but a president who's been contemplating going to war with Syria, with Russia, whether they want to admit that would be who they're doing it with. So much so that Mike Lee has to come out and remind him of the Constitution. Oh, Mr. President, let me just say, if you're thinking about going to war, you got to remember that there's this little document called the Constitution. If you have a chance, take a look at it. Because obviously in 8 years he has disregarded it. I don't think he's looked at it in more than 8 years, but certainly during the 8 years he really hasn't looked at it. But I guarantee you he's watched golf videos and maybe taken some, lessons just to get a little bit better, surveyed the golf courses, things like that. Important things that every president should have. It's such a joke. And I have to say that if Hillary gets in, if we have a country left, if Russia hasn't, started a war, we haven't started a war with Russia, whatever the case may be, having Hillary in office will be one of the worst 4 years, probably, 10 times, 20 times worse than Obama. It really will be. And all those people who are banking on the fact that, well, if we get Hillary in, there are things that we can do. We have a majority of Congress, and so we can do X, Y, and Z. No. Sorry. No. The people that we have right now in Congress who claim to be GOP representatives, like Paul Ryan, who claims to be a Republican, he signed, let me just remind you, he signed a bill to bring in 300,000 immigrants into this country. He has picked up where Boehner left off and carrying the water for this administration. People are sick and tired of these people. They're sick and tired of every time over the last 8 years that there has been something put forth by the president, that each and every time people like Boehner and Ryan would come out and go, oh, no, we're not going to let that happen. No. And every single time, and I think they sounded like that sometimes, but every single time Obama got what he wanted. Oh, well, GOP would say, this just not the time right now. We'll come back around. Don't worry about it. We gave up the farm now, but we'll be back around, and then we'll get what we want. And then when that time would come, now's not the time either. We'll get what we want. Maybe when hell freezes over. Just stay with us. So if you and I don't know from experience over the past 8 years that these people are lying, conniving politicians that will do and say anything to continue on in their careers and make so much money that they wouldn't care if they got kicked out of office because they'd still have all the money. They don't get rich from being the politician who sits there and votes every day and pretends that they're doing their job. They get rich off of lobbyists and other speaking engagements and whatever else might be going on that we're not aware of. It's disgusting to think that these people really call themselves GOP. But if you get Hillary in there, there's absolutely no guarantee that these people would suddenly find themselves and get back on our side again and be conservatives and do what they were sent there to do. Absolutely no proof. And if that's what you're waiting and banking on, you're going to be sadly unhappy when the day comes if Hillary becomes president. And there's no... Right now, I think people are so sick and tired of just about every politician. Who knows if we're going to maintain the majority? I think it's pretty darn close right now. If you can believe any of the polls, and I don't, by the way, I really don't. But a lot of the polls are saying that Hillary is in first place. Hillary's ahead by 9 points. Hillary this, Hillary that, whatever. Everybody who's saying those things are all in the bag for Hillary. We've seen from the emails from WikiLeaks, that are alleging that she's got the press wrapped up. Well, we know that. Obviously they don't care how they're talked down to or what's said about them or how they're treated. They don't care because all they're looking forward to is 4 years under Hillary and getting what they want: more money, more this, more that, whatever the case may be. It's sick and disgusting time that we find ourselves in. So my point in all of this is, you and I are right now, we have a horrible decision to make. Typically when we're at an election time to elect somebody else, things might be bad. Things might be really kind of like, wow, gosh, I don't like that policy the president had. Really time to get somebody new and let's change everything. We're way beyond those days. I mean, we have a president right now who has basically destroyed this country. He said he was going to. He really did. He tried to warn us that when he said, I'm going to transform the country, he meant he was going to transform the country. And if you want the last nail in the coffin, then go ahead and put Hillary Clinton in, because that will be the last nail in the coffin. And again, I don't know if we're already past the point of no return anyway, because as I said, we are in the end times. We really are. Everything is happening according to what's in Revelation and Ezekiel and Daniel, and the whole Bible. Go read the whole Bible. Go talk to somebody else who can tell you more about the end times and Revelation than I can. But everything is falling into place. We're complacent in the United States, meaning the administration. And they just keep leading us down that path. Now, many people might think, well, you know what? What's happening is Obama would like nothing better than to have us go into a war and then suspend the election. And at this point, at one point I would have said to you, come on now, that's kind of like conspiracy theory, they're kind of, you don't want to go there. Not anymore. What used to be ludicrous has now almost become commonplace. Until I can sort of look at everything and verify it one way or the other, I'm not dismissing anything. Because I think we're so upside down now that just about anything is possible. Just about anything is possible. And we have to know, as I've tried to point out, when we're so focused on the election, and when everybody wants us to be so focused on the election, so much so that other news is sort of getting put aside, then you have to start looking at what is it they don't want you to know. I mean, sometimes I honestly do feel like we're the frogs sitting there in the pot, and the water is just getting a little bit warmer, a little bit warmer. We're not really noticing it because it just feels so good right now. And the next minute, we're just being boiled alive. I mean, don't you sometimes feel that way in this country? Maybe not being boiled alive or literally, but we're sitting here like, everything, we just got to worry about this election. That's all that we have to worry about. And if we can just get the right person in there, by golly, everything's going to be just fine. And that simply is not the truth. I know you probably don't want me to say that to you, and because you want to believe that, but it isn't the truth, and I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that. Whoever gets in is not going to fix the problems that we have. They're so great right now. It's not going to be a little magical fix. And I don't know. I have no idea whether the next candidate, if it's Donald Trump who gets in and let's say he becomes president, I have no idea if he's going to do what he says he's going to do. I have no idea. I really don't. I mean, there are presidents that Ronald Reagan. I believed Ronald Reagan was going to do what he said he was going to do. And for the most part, he did. I really haven't believed any candidate. And I'll tell you, any politician anymore, I've never been so disappointed in my life than I have been in Ted Cruz. I really thought he was different. And again, and you may say, well, he did the right thing. He said he was going to support Donald, and he did, whatever. Okay. Well, but he also went against his own principles, and perhaps he should never have made that, should never have said that, should never have made that promise to Donald Trump in the first place. Okay. Maybe that's where he went wrong. But for me, he disappointed me because he didn't stick to his principles that he said he was going to stick to. And I know some of you may say, yeah, but the country is more important. Maybe so. And that's your right to look at it that way. My way of looking at it is each of us individually and collectively cause this world or this country to be what it is. And we may think, it doesn't, I'll just do this a little bit. It won't really matter. Won't harm anybody. Won't affect anybody. But it does. It's like people who say, well, why can't I pick this little flower from the garden here? It's just me. It's just a little flower. Because you're not the only one who's doing it. And if everybody goes out and picks a little flower from the garden, pretty soon there'll be no flowers left. If everybody just gives up their principles just a little bit, and over time, there won't be any principles left. You will have sold your soul out just like John Boehner did with the tobacco lobbyists. And that's who we're going to have in this country if people don't start saying what they mean and mean what they say. Keep your principles intact. I don't care what everybody else is doing. I really don't care. I don't care that everybody else is getting away with it and you think, well, I should get away with it too. I don't care. Because for me and my family, while we're serving the Lord, we're going to also be trying to maintain appropriate principles. And will we fail at it? Absolutely. You know why? We'll fail sometimes because we are human beings. But for the most part, I'm going to try to keep mine intact, no matter what happens in this country, no matter who gets elected, no matter where we go from here. And as I said before, we have got to somehow come back together. We don't have to be friends. We don't have to like each other all that much. We don't even have to believe the same things. But being civil to one another would certainly be a start of trying to get this country back on the right tracks, if that's possible. It's hard to grow a business, a country, or anything else if people are so divided and nobody is focused on the goal together. It's just common sense. We somehow just need to return to common sense in this country. That would help. That would be the first thing that I would recommend. Let's just return to the days when everybody knew when something was stupid, when something was ridiculous, and when something was going to work. I mean, we're so PC that we can't even have that conversation anymore. And it's somehow we've got to get rid of PC. I mean, honestly, if somebody is rude or disgusting or whatever and calls you names, whatever, that says so much about their character. I don't need for you to come and say, well, that was politically incorrect. Okay, who cares? It's called free speech. It's not appropriate. But if somebody does that to me, then I have the ability to A, tell them I don't appreciate it, B, stop working with them, stop communicating with, whatever the case may be. People need to start standing on their 2 feet again without having to always be the victim in every single thing. Not everything needs to have a PC police officer attached to it. But speaking, let's go into the police right now, okay? Kroger's. I don't know if you saw this recently, but supposedly this woman was standing at the cash register ready to check out, and the person, and I don't know, they didn't describe who the person was, but the person at the register, the one who gets paid to check people out when they're ready, that person refused. Oh, I'm not going to check this woman out. I don't have to. I'm going to do what I want. Okay. For me, I'm sorry. Hands up. Let's show of hands. How many would have said, fire that person right now, right there on the spot? Okay, that's me. Now, why didn't that person want to check the woman out? Why? What was so offensive about her groceries that they couldn't check her out? Well, because she was wearing a T-shirt, and that T-shirt said, "Blue lives matter and all lives matter." And, we just cannot have that kind of talk here. Now, if it said Black lives matter, that's okay. Because our double standard here in the PC world that we live in just is not going to, we're not going to have that unless it's going to be the way we want it to be. And you, woman who's standing there who came into this store that I work at and I get paid by, how dare you wear a T-shirt that you want to wear when it makes me uncomfortable and I don't like it? Good. I told you it was going to be ranting today. I told you. I warned you. I don't know. I haven't heard what Kroger's did, but if Kroger's didn't fire that person, then every single one of us who's near a Kroger's, and unfortunately I don't know of one in San Diego, but if you can tell me who they're associated with or whatever, or if I find out, that'll be a different story. But we should all be out there boycotting them. And yes, boycott. I'm tired of giving my money to people who want to turn around and treat me and others like crap. If you don't want to treat us equally, then you're treating us like crap, and you don't have a right to our money. We'll take it elsewhere. And if I want to stand in front of your store legally and boycott your store and ask other people to do so, then I will. Now, if you want to fire that person, if this was a one-time thing and you're sorry and you actually fire that person, okay, that's a different story. But I'm sick and tired of it, and I think you're sick and tired of it too. I am tired of watching our constitutional rights be flushed down the toilet because people like the person at Kroger's who allegedly did all this gets away with it. And again, I hope Kroger's did the right thing. If you didn't, then, just like Ben and Jerry's. Ben and Jerry's has been in the news lately. Did you hear about this? They don't like cops either. No. And in fact, the Blue Lives Matter is calling on all Americans to send a message to Ben and Jerry's and their parent company and boycott all of their products. Amen. I'm all in. You want to mistreat our cops, you want to do things against our cops, then I'm all in, and I won't buy a single thing from you. And I know it's hard sometimes. People say, yeah, but if we did that, we wouldn't be able to buy anything anywhere. Okay, well, maybe it'll boil down to it. We just won't. But there are people who you can buy from or who are less egregious in their actions that you can certainly buy from. But they've come out recently, Ben and Jerry's, and they've announced their full support for Black Lives Matter, along with a misinformation campaign accusing law enforcement of widespread, systemic, and institutionalized racism. You know what? To be honest with you, Ben and Jerry's is so liberal, progressive, left liberal, that I haven't bought from them in years, and I won't ever buy from them again. You want to support Black Lives Matter, you have every right to do that. And I have every right that when you support that group who are out there talking, against police officers and inciting people in certain instances, then you can take your ice cream and, let's just say I won't be buying it. And, anybody else who wants to do this, I mean, folks, I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. Maybe write down a list of all the people who are doing things. I know it's hard to keep them all separated. Target, now there's Ben and Jerry, there's Kroger's doing stuff. What are you going to do? Are you going to let these people walk over the police? Here's what it all boils down to. Ben and Jerry's, Black Lives Matter, George Soros, anybody else, they want a country filled with chaos. I mean, the last time we had Black Lives Matter who sponsored people to go out and riot, and the last shooting that there was, what were their demands? Well, we want to dismantle the police force. Oh, okay, so let's see. Did you think of that all on your own, or did you have some help from people who say, why don't you go out there, and part of the demands are to ask for the police force to be dismantled? You got people who are putting these things into the minds of other people, and obviously they're not well thought out because, if we dismantle the police force, then we have gang members running around on the streets. I mean, isn't that what happens with gangs? There's no law and order. You just go out shooting other people because, well, you're in my territory and you shouldn't be. Good enough. And the laws are the laws of the street, whatever you want to make them. Well, we all know that won't work, but we all know that's where these people want to take us. That's where Black Lives Matter want to take people. They want to, and they continue the lie about how everything is based on racism and institutionalized racism. Yeah, there's let me just get this. There's institutionalized racism that somehow violates, because this would be a violation. So stick with me. That would somehow violate state and federal laws, hiring practices, and how you do things. But somehow somehow that exists. You're going to tell me there's institutionalized racism. If that were true, that every school, every organization, then everybody would be sued all day long, every day. Because, again, they'd be violating state and federal laws if they were doing that. I mean, I can't handle it some days when people are so far off and just in la-la land, but they want you and me to act like, oh, this is normal. I'm telling you, we got institutionalized racism, and you should be aware of that. If we don't start speaking up, all of us, not just one of us, not just two of us, but all of us, and start speaking out and letting people know, we're not that stupid. We're not that stupid. We don't believe you. We're not going to follow you. You're lying to us. We know all you want to do is line your pockets. I mean, can you imagine? Let me just tell you something. If anybody out there is listening who has the ability to do this, let me just say this to you. If you want to give me $33 million or $100 million over the next 6 years, I think that was the deal with Black Lives Matter. If you want to do that and help my conservative voice get a bigger reach and a bigger audience, man, I would love that. And I'll tell you something. I will use that money to spread the truth. I will use that money to warn people about what's coming and what's happening in the news that they're not being told. I would use that money to spread Christian principles. So if you're out there and you want to give me that money, man, I would be so appreciative. I won't be spreading hate against any group. I won't be like Black Lives Matter, who wants people to believe something because when they have an agenda, they benefit from it and you lose. I won't be doing that. That's not who I am as an individual. But I will stand for the truth. I will spread the truth. And I will sound the alarm of what's coming and what I feel you need to know. Because I don't like it when people treat other people disrespectfully, when they treat them as though they are idiots, and they try to lead them by the nose, those that are vulnerable people, typically. I hate that. I abhor people who take advantage of vulnerable people. Always have, always will. So if you want to give me that money, I can promise you that will never happen. I will use it for good and not evil. Okay? Let me just put it that way. Maybe those are terms that everybody can understand these days. But I tell you, all of us need to be speaking out against these organizations, whether it's Target, Ben & Jerry's, Kroger's, whomever. Speaking out and saying, we're not going to allow this to happen. Enough is enough. You cannot do what you want to do. If you are hired to serve a police officer, then you need to serve that police officer like everybody else. You're not going to be allowed to discriminate against people. And for those people, that are doing that, shame on you. Would you allow discrimination against anybody else? If the answer is no, then why are you discriminating against police officers or anybody else? We've got to get sanity somehow back into the country, that the sanity that has left. We really, really do. And it's going to take all of us, again, working together. There may be things that I do that you disagree with and vice versa, but that doesn't mean that we can't work towards the common good. And the common good is America and saving America, if it's at all possible, and saving the people of America and making this country better than it was before, again, if it's not too late in doing that. But unless we work together, unless we try, unless we come back together and have that common goal, we can't ever get back even a remnant of what we used to have. We have got to come back together, quit fighting each other. Our country is too important. Our lives are too important. And we all know this. We are compassionate human beings. We just have to remember to pull it back together. I thank you so much for being here today. It really is an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you and to know that you are listening. I do care about you. The people that I've met on social media, you are great people. I care about the people of the United States. I care about my country. So let's work together. Until next time, God bless you. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, and let's make this country what we all know it can be.